So as some of you know, I've recently bought a new computer after a few years of my old computer having difficulties in running modern games. The whine of the CPU and GPU fans was becoming a little too much for me to bear, and I had a reasonably large tax return, so I decided to go ahead and spoil myself a bit. Having bought a new computer that can handle recording in a decent resolution with no slowdown, I decided that it'd be cool to try my hand at a few game reviews. So I spent the first few days downloading the biggest, brightest, most ultra graphics intensive games that I'd bought in the recent Steam summer sale. And then I went ahead and got myself addicted to a 2D 16-bit pixelated platformer/exploration game by the name of Terraria. So, while I'd love to kick off with some really pretty games such as Skyrim, unfortunately I've already pumped 30 or so hours into this neat little game, and I feel like reviewing it may somehow break its spell on me for long enough for me to actually start playing games that make use of my 2GB graphics card and quad-core CPU. So fingers crossed on that, and here we go. So Terraria has been called Minecraft in 2D. It's easy to see why. You start with a character who has very little and have to build the tools with which to explore and thrive within a procedurally generated world. It really is impossible to avoid comparisons to Minecraft, and there are certainly a lot of places where the two cross over. Getting better tools requires finding rarer minerals, which means deeper digging and more danger. Building at least a basic house to keep out the various monsters that roam the surface is also necessary. But there are a lot of subtle differences in moving to 2D from 3D that you wouldn't necessarily pick. For example, building a crazy architecture-designed house in 2D is nowhere near as rewarding as it is in 3D. So, while Minecraft focused on item progression to encourage creativity and building, Terraria focuses more on item progression to enable better looting and monster battles. By doing this, it feels a lot like the Metroidvania and/or Castletroid genre of games. That is, games like Super Metroid and Castlevania, these were in their prime when the Super Nintendo was the ultimate system to make your friends jealous. Where the aim is to explore a large 2D platforming map of interconnected rooms. In those games, you were limited in your exploration by needing items that were given to you at predefined times during the game. This gave the gameplay experience quite a bit of linearity. You couldn't get to Area X unless you had item Y. Terraria takes that concept and just gives it a nudge in the direction of non-linearity. Technically speaking, you can dig all the way to the underworld biome from the start. It might take you all day, given that the wooden pickaxe that you start with is slow and weak, but if you're skilled enough, you can do it. But a better strategy might be to cut down a few trees and build a workbench, from which you can use some stone that you've mined to create a better pickaxe that will work faster. And hey, what's this sparkling ore that you just found while mining for stone? Oh, it's iron. Well, now you have enough iron to make some armor, and a bow that'll enable you to fight off enemies better as you explore the caverns. That skeleton warrior you just killed dropped some bones, so quick, rush back to the workbench and see what those can make. And what's this plant do, and how do you create potions, and what do these random chests hold? Relogic, who are the developers of Terraria, have done a really great job in ensuring that there's always something that will have you excitedly calling over Mumble or TeamSpeak to find out whether anyone else knows what this new item or mineral does. Probably one of the best things that Terraria has done, and something that Minecraft should have been quicker about doing, is introduce multiple, varied boss battles. Although, to give Minecraft some slack, it's probably a bit easier to program a 2D boss battle than a 3D one. In any case, bosses will show up when you summon them with crafted items, or when you fulfill certain prerequisites, like having obtained enough extra HP to make you reasonably strong enough to fight them. It's really great fun to get a bunch of people on a server jumping around fighting a giant eyeball with teeth as it flies around dealing random death. Especially since all the items you use to fight these bosses are ones you've earned by forging them or finding them deep in a random cavern. The game even features a hard mode, activated rather amusingly by sacrificing an effigy of the tutorial character and defeating a giant wall of flesh, where monsters become a lot tougher to defeat, but where stronger materials can be mined and powerful items can be created. You can then take these items to new servers if you want, to show off to your friends in their quaint little easy mode worlds. All up, it's a really compelling experience, somehow more stomachable to me than the infinite possibilities of Minecraft, and with a few extra details that make it a bit more streamlined. I'd definitely recommend it if you're looking for something to play on your laptop on a long trip, or maybe if you want to introduce a loved one to multiplayer gaming who maybe doesn't have so much gaming experience. And certainly, if you're a fan of those older Metroidvania games, it's an interesting experiment into what happens when you take that formula and add non-linearity and procedurally generated worlds. Make sure you give it a try in multiplayer, preferably with other people who are just starting to play it, and try and keep the referencing of the Terraria Wikia pages to a minimum. It really helps to enhance the joy of discovering new recipes and items. Alright, well, that's my first review done. I hope anyone who watched it enjoyed it. I'll be back next week to talk about a new game, and hopefully one that pushes my new graphics card a little bit harder. Thanks for watching.